Aloha and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson on the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii. So happy to be here with you today. Bob is also with us. Here he is.
Yes, Bob, shining on Hope and the Wisdom Dialogues today, so I'll be joining in at some point. Aloha.
Yay. Okay, so to start off with, someone asked me to elaborate on this, what Bob calls an aphorism. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but probably find out soon. As we have conceived of ourselves, so do we perceive ourselves, others, and the world. So basically, like what we've talked about before, is that the perception is totally made up of thought. Okay? So, and all thought is in relation to what we think about ourselves. Okay? It's always in relation to other. Okay? Always in relation to that. So what we perceive as the other is a reflection of how we have conceived ourselves. The body, the mind, the individuality, it's all made out of thought. The individual mind that has likes and dislikes, that's all made of thought. It's made of belief. So what's the deal? Why do we want to know this? Well, that's because we're always thinking about ourselves and talking to ourselves. And if we recognize that that self-talk is also manifest through perceiving ourselves to talk to and about others, okay? And the world itself. Anything that seems threatening, you know, that's the conception that we could be threatened, that's a possibility. Believing that that's a possibility in the first place, okay? That it's a false belief. It's a believing that we are vulnerable to anything in the world, okay? And in believing that we're vulnerable to anything in the world, we don't recognize that all this in the perception has come to show us what we've been taking as true about ourselves. And it is ourself coming to show us. It's not anyone else. There isn't anyone else. There's only one of us. Okay? So then if the perception seems heavy or intense or anything like that, we're just invited to let that be experienced. Knowing that our conception of ourselves is being healed through the experience. If we take our experiences wrong, if we take, say we'll make it like a worldwide thing, say it's something, pollution, all right, let's throw that one out there. To say that that is something that's wrong, you know, it's not so much in the words, but it's like an attack on our own heart. To say that this wasn't our choice from outside of time and space. You know, I've explained a lot of times, we don't make a choice in consciousness between illusions, but we're always choosing whether to believe that the illusion is real or a projection of what we think about ourselves. Okay? And there's a strong pull for us to believe that the perception is real because it seems so dense. It seems so, wow, I have to believe this is real so I could protect this form. It seems to need water and food and money and all this different stuff. And, you know, the form itself, the body itself, is a projection of what is taken as true about ourselves. Okay? It's a projection. So it's not something that we have to try and change, improve. If you notice that it's all conceived from within our own mind, and that's where the projector is, from outside of time, projecting it, then there's nothing to get you to believe in vulnerability. Because that knowing that we've conceived this perception and it's being projected from our own mind, we can't fight with ourselves. It doesn't seem like it would lead to anything fruitful, because it doesn't. It feels more like punching your own self. And one, there's different kinds of fighting. I mean, one way of fighting is just acting as if, say, the government has power over us. Okay? That's fighting. That's pretending. That's a pretend thought. That's denying. That's a thought that denies that what we're perceiving, we already conceived. It's already been conceived. It's a perception of what we're taking to be true. And if we deny that, that what our perception is only what we're taking to be true and taking to be something outside of us, we actually put ourselves in danger. Not real danger, play danger, but still it could be experienced as painful and suffering and stuff like that. Because every time we let a thought just take our attention as if it's true, that attacks us, that's immediately transferred into our energy field. It's like it's absorbed into the energy field. Okay? And then it's like it's asking for more of the same. And that could be seen, energy blockages, stuff like that. Energy blockages in the body, same thing as energy blockages in the life, like experiencing lack, experiencing any kind of lack, or that this world is difficult. Okay? Why is it asking for more of the same? Okay, so I'm not sure what Yulia means by that. Aloha, Yulia.
Aloha, Hope. I'm just like catching on the phrase you just said earlier.
Okay.
Like when we project, a thought and believe it, and it gets absorbed into our energy field.
Yes.
And that's asking for more of the same.
Yes, that is asking for more of the same. And here's the thing that's really important to point out in that. We don't need to be afraid of the projecting. We don't need to be afraid of the projecting, because the projecting has absolutely no power at all unless we're believing it. And to be afraid of it is to believe it. To try to get rid of it is to believe it. To fix it is to believe it. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's important to not mind even if projecting is happening, because I see that a lot. People will be like, wow, if it's my thoughts that are manifesting as things all around me, circumstances and stuff like that, oh my God, I don't want to project for this outcome. But I can't help it. How do I stop it? And the thing is, you don't have to stop any of the projections. It's only a matter of seeing that they are a projection and actually have no power unless you believe it, and that trying to fight it is one way of demonstrating to the mind that it's important and you believe in it.
I need to write that down for myself. Fighting is believing.
Yes, fighting is believing. That's right.
I know.
Yes.
Fighting
is fighting is making it true.
You say it and it's so obvious, but
I know. Yeah, that's why it needs to be repeated. Because it's like there's forgetfulness, you know. That's why it needs to be repeated. And I'm super happy to do that. It's fun for me.
But also the way it's projected is tricky, I think. It's not like it's projected as in like, oh, I'm going to think that, or I'm thinking that, so that's what's going to happen, or I'm wanting that. Sometimes you don't even know how it's projecting because things happen you never thought about, imagined, you know, good and bad, but it seems that they come out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's chaos, but it's not at all. It's totally, you know, this whole the whole illusion, the whole perception, joint perception, it's being recreated in every moment. You know, it's shorter than a moment. You know, because the eyeball can't see it happening. It's happening that fast. You know, the way scientists see it is reality is blinking in and out of existence. Isn't that great?
Yeah. The thing is, it's not even that it's chaotic. It's more like, how could I have conceived of that? I never thought of that, right? Like consciously, I haven't, and then something happens in your life, right?
Yeah, really good question. Really good question. So you don't have to analyze what it is that comes up, because whatever it is that comes up, the story about it on the surface, what it seems to be, is only there to get a feeling. So the only thing that's ever being asked of you is to feel the feeling, or ride the ride, so to speak.
And the feeling comes from how I interpret whatever comes up, right?
That's right. It's a symbol of how you're interpreting it right now. And if you're willing to see that that's what it is, then it'll be shown to you. It'll be shown the delusion that you're relying on to make this interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's all an interpretation of energy. So if someone
pretty much everything is an interpretation. Just negative interpretation is a denser one, and then positive, I guess, is lighter, but it's still an interpretation.
Lighter. Yes, that's right. That's right. And even with the positive, you know, it's like if there's not seeing through that, recognizing that that's really not true. You know, something positive is not your savior. It's not better than the other.
Yeah.
You know, one thing is better than the other. So seeing through it, you know, and it might be easier practice-wise to see through these positive ideas that you have. I know I've practiced that before, because it was just like, wow, even these positive ideas, these things that I think are good and are coming to save me, they're equanimous with the things that I think are bad and are coming to hurt me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I noticed is happening is like, oh, great, my, you know, perception is getting lighter, my interpretation is getting lighter, everything is getting better, and then that getting better always runs into something that's not getting better, and suddenly you feel a total rebellion, protest, you know, blow up, and you're like mad at the whole getting better process because it's really not. And I think is it an illusion that things can be getting better or worse?
Well, things overall start to feel better, and then something might come up and smack you down. Feel like it's smacking you down. That is a huge opportunity right there to see through, because you know that thing that comes up to smack you down, you can kind of look at that like a temptation to go back into delusion. You know, you start fighting it. You start thinking this is wrong that I'm feeling this way. You know, every time one of these feelings comes up where you feel out of control or anything like that, it's a total blessing. And whatever way you handle it, whether you handle it with grace or not, is sacred. You can't get it wrong. Okay? It's only there to be experienced. The whole experience is there to be experienced. You can't go backwards, but you can believe that you're going backwards and make suffering for yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's just that it seems like sometimes I get mad at my attempts to improve the experience, to become more skillful in handling it, right? More
Yes.
mindful and all that. So
Yes.
it gets like it gets frustrating.
The frustration is also an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it doesn't really get frustrated. Nothing gets frustrating. You feel frustration, and then you identify it as it's caused by this thing, its circumstance, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's not recognizing that you conceived of yourself in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
perceived world.
But is like this whole thing of trying to be more skillful, more mindful, isn't it becoming equal with fighting, which equals believing?
All the fighting is in your mind. You're going to automatically become more skillful, in other words, more able to share the love that we are and not conceal it.
Right.
Right? That's more skillful, yeah? And when you're willing to recognize that you conceived of everything you perceive, you will become more skillful. Because in that moment, when you recognize that, the fighting mind has nothing to fight with. It relaxes.
Mm-hmm.
Can relax. So there's at least a space for relaxation. Even if there's not recognition of that relaxation, there's at least that space created for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just being willing to recognize that this world is of our own making. This perceived world is of our own making, anything that we perceive. And so many thoughts deny that all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like to say it, because all day long, the thoughts are denying that. So it's like when you hear something like that, there might be like, oh, yeah, I totally agree with that, totally. And then just unconsciously believe a thought that denies it.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we keep on repeating the thoughts that point to the truth, because the mind's so conditioned to deny it. That's like the bulk of the thoughts that come through are denials of the truth. Okay?
I sometimes wonder how it becomes like that. You think of a moment you're born and you don't have an awareness of being there, and then you have glimpses of memory of, or you don't know if you had an awareness. Basically, you have no memory of it, of the self.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah,
how do you come up with all these interpretations of what's good, what's bad, and it's mind-boggling.
they're all learned.
We don't have an existence of our own. We're just like a product of everything we learned.
Well, we have an existence of our own, but it's not a separate existence.
Mm-hmm.
This world we perceive with separate existences going on, that is a deception.
But the memory is tied to the self that's like a product of what we learned. All the interpretations.
Yes. Exactly.
I have no memory.
And it's all an interpretation. Right? Yeah, it's all an interpretation as if we're an individual within a world, within a universe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's all taken like that. And the more it's taken like that, the more we sow these seeds of a delusional world.
Mm.
It's not necessary for suffering. I mean, to go on. It seems necessary, and it seems to be happening only because we believe so much in those unconscious thoughts as a people, as a human race, you can say. We believe so much in those unconscious thoughts. It's almost like it's an attack to say that we made this up. We made this up right now. You can't really tell someone that unless they're super open to hear something like that in this time in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's fine.
There's eternal battle of the good and evil.
Yeah. Pretty fun.
Yes.
Yay.
Sweet. It's just I feel sometimes like I understand it all. It makes perfect sense. and I see it sometimes, but sometimes I just feel like I'm not experiencing it.
Yeah, so when you feel like you're not experiencing it, that's okay. Because what's noticing that you're not experiencing it is aware of it. It's just that when you start thinking it's not okay, you're identifying as an individual and you think it's you, but it's not even you that it's happening to. It's
Okay.
just it's a perception. It's another perception. It's meant to get a feeling, just like anything.
Oh, is that self that's made of interpretations is experiencing that it's not experiencing?
Yes. This anger, whatever it is, it needs to be experienced, and with in the place of compassion for yourself, or you're experiencing this right now. This is your experience,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. Compassion for experiencing whatever I'm experiencing.
Yes, exactly, and then that'll naturally flow to everyone in your experience. You can't make it happen. You can just open up to what is available to you.
And no, I just bought into some of my usual stories big time, and
Yeah.
then I really, really felt so compelled to do that. And then I felt like just wanting to be left alone, not trying to prove anything, and um, like being tired of being a self. You ever get that?
I have had that before. If that comes up for me at this point, it's just kind of amusing. It's not believed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another projection.
Mm-hmm.
Because
The sense
you're
of
not
not
really
wanting to be a
self.
self.
Yeah, you're not really being. It's a self, in the sense that you think. It's more like you're experiencing this self. You're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing this self.
Mm-hmm.
If you're resisting it, you're resisting the experience. And in resisting the experience, the self, or the energetic body that makes up the self, becomes denser. It's really
Mm-hmm.
simple.
Yeah. With all this understanding, it's still sometimes so hard to not get pulled into some of the stories.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Because, yeah, I guess for me, like, there's certain hooks, like the
Yes, there are certain
righteous,
hooks.
righteous anger,
Yes.
they.
Yes. Look at the hooks. Look at, just notice as that's arising, see if you could sit still. See if it, open up to it. Don't just say I can't sit still. Open up to the experience of, wow, it's possible to sit still when this volatile energy seems to be motivating my body to lash out. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible to sit still. And if you open up to that possibility, and if you also ask for help in the moment, you might find that
Oh, yeah,
you're
I remember you
having
told
a
me that.
transformation. What?
I remember you told me that. I forgot about it.
Yeah, because you could feel that hook. It's a very powerful sensation. And, in the moment, if you are welcoming any experience and also willing to be able to sit still and just contain all this energy, you have the capacity for it. It's actually once you get past this surface level of fear to go there, that's the thing that's making you to act out on it. Once you get past that surface level of fear, there's a great sense of peace and relaxation.
Yeah, it seems like in the moment when it's happening, it seems like if I don't do something, I will miss the opportunity again to fix something, to make it right.
Yeah. And you know how that's been working so far.
Yeah.
You know how it's been going, right?
Yeah, it sure fixed the whole world that way.
So you can see that when that one comes up, that's not valid.
I know, but then it's like, but can I do anything, or is anything I can do about like
That's the
certain
thing.
situations?
That's the thing I've been sharing for weeks and weeks on end. There's no doer.
Ah,
There's no compromise in that. There's just simply no doer.
mm,
So when you're saying, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, that's exactly the thing that's presenting an opportunity right now, because that's identifying as a doer, and there's some tension with that.
but but yet we do take action in life, even though, I mean, we shouldn't identify with being the doer and the action happens, but there is that perception that we do something, right?
Hold on a sec, I'm out of the camera because I'm getting myself some water. There's a perception and a convincing illusion that we do stuff and we also choose what we do. But that's not what's going on. The doing that's projected through our body is being projected from outside of time and space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're not actually taking any action. We're perceiving a self taking action.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of action we can take is the kind we just spoke about, right?
So then there's no judging the self for taking the actions it takes.
Well, sure, because there's no recognition of how innocent the self is, being only made of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Only made of beliefs. It can't be anything but innocent.
I guess I'm dying for action that is right. Like, I really want to know that what I'm doing is right, even though I believe in no doer, and I get that.
Okay, here's how you know that what you're doing is right. You've heard people say before, I bet, it's not what you're doing, it's how you're being, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the doing, all that is playing out of the past. It's playing out of concepts. You don't really have a choice in what you're doing, but whatever you seem to be doing is done from a certain state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
See? Okay, it's done from the perspective of a particular vibration. Let's say that.
Yeah, I guess I remember, talking about this myself, that you can't make a good decision out of a, bad state of mind, right? If you're full of anxiety, fear, anger, or whatever, you clearly can't make a good decision.
Yeah, and you can't. Yeah, and for the most part, your decisions will seem to not work out if you think that one decision is better than another. That's the thing. There's no difference. That's another thing about whatever decision we seem to be making in the moment is not a decision that we're making from the conscious mind. It's an unconscious decision. It's the past playing out.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever decision we appear to make on the surface is absolutely right for us.
Mm-hmm.
So hooray.
Yes, that's a good reminder too.
It's leading to exactly the experience we have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Just remember that I didn't consciously ask for it. I have to remember.
Yeah, because then you kind of screw yourself with thoughts trying to find out, hey, wait a minute, I'm perceiving a murderer. I don't want to murder people. What am I doing with a murderer? Don't look so surface. Look at your reaction to what you perceive. That, whatever the story is, whatever the perception is only meant to bring up a feeling.
Yeah.
It's being used to get a feeling. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you too, Yulia. I love you.
Love
Aloha.
you. Love you. Aloha.
Okay, so you could raise your hand if you would like to speak with me. And I would love to take any questions, talk about anything you like. You can also type questions to me. So, yay.
coming up yet?
No, not yet. Would you like to go, Bron?
I would like to.
I almost called you Braun. Bob? Okay, let's see.
I'm Brawny Bob.
Here, let's do it this way.
Oh, look at this.
Okay,
Here we are. What a thrill.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so now, because you were talking about projection.
Yes.
One thing. So there's this idea, I wrote this, part of this poem, the pure white light of spirit passes through one's prismatic mind and diffracts into the vivid spectrum of sensation. So the idea that the source of life is one, is light, is a singularity.
Yes.
But the mind, our human mind, is like a prism.
Yes.
That then diffracts and creates multifaceted, different, separate images. And so that is how we project all of the differences that then create the conflicts and then the violence and all of the problems in existence that it is. It's our creation through our mind, which takes a singularity, a common, simple one source, and then divides it and multiplies it and fractures it and facets it into the five senses. So you have, then it creates the hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, the five senses. That then creates this multiplicity from a singularity.
Right.
And so then you get lost in this maze of multiplicity, and then you know, you can't. The idea is then to find your way back within to that singular source. It seems like.
Well, you seem like you're lost, but you're never really lost, of course, because it's almost like you lose yourself. It's almost like you go into one of those mazes, like at fall, where it's all the hay and and you put yourself in there, knowing that you could just yell and someone will come get you at any moment. But it's like every situation, every circumstance is set up for us to see more, so that we could play more and have more fun, and you know, and create a happy dream. You know, really, it's already been created. You know, it's just that there's more and more love to be shared through this experience. Okay, like learning how to give and receive love, and play more and have fun on this playground of life. So there's something going on here. Let's see what it says. This is my first about what am I in relation to seeing and living. Not sure if that is. Oh yeah, totally. That's perfect. Yes. Yes, Lisa, I'm turning your mic on. I think that was Lisa, was it? Yes. Okay. Your mic is on my side. You might need to turn it on your side because I don't see the green light at the moment.
Awesome. Hey.
Yay! There you are. Thanks for joining, Lisa.
Thanks, Hope. I've watched your videos, some videos not live, but this is the first time I'm joining live, so this is so cool. Can you see me? Can you see me?
I can't see you. I didn't have the kind of bandwidth I would need to get that going.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm waving anyway.
Island technology.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I'm really excited about talking with you about this. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of deep inner work for a long time, and you know, being able to kind of come to some understandings and realizations about this reality being conceptual, and you know, really kind of like understanding that, having a very visceral experience of that, and then being back in the world, but still having the total awareness that everything is conceptual. And then throughout that time, throughout the period of time from that experience to now, there's kind of been like a deep releasing that's been taking a lot of the concepts that I was still attached to. And then recently, you know, there was some pretty deep cathartic experiences that were happening, and then recently there was a very strong awareness of the outer world being empty. You know, it was just like I saw the emptiness of the apparency of the outer world, and then this very strong pull just to turn inward came. Yeah. Okay, so this strong pull, and everything just kind of dropped away, and it was a totally joyous experience, just this very beautiful pull inward. And that was, I was just in complete allowance of that, and then just all of a sudden that energy, that inward energy, stopped. Okay. And what began to happen was that instead of the cathartic kind of place of releasing and moving through a lot of suffering that had happened, there was more a place of joy, feeling joy, and what you just said before, like, oh my gosh, creating joy and just giving and receiving love, and how can I do and be more of that? And so my question really is that there was this kind of like this shift into this place, but there's still part of me that is thinking that I need to continue to let that go as well. Like, oh my goodness, I can't attach to the joy and the positive aspects. Like, am I just swinging to the positive? And this kind of like mental thing that's happening of like, oh, do I have to just continue to turn inward and let this go too? And and so I just would really love to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay. Okay, it's like I said before, you can't get it wrong. And if you're experiencing any kind of upset, any kind of painful feelings, emotions, anything that says you're lacking that joy right now, that's only something that's passing. It's just like a temptation to get you to buy into it again, to get you to buy into being an individual and needing to have the joyful experiences. What happens when there's some excitement for having an upset or non-joyful experience? You know, and what happens when you're like, you feel a little bit like, for me, like a little, almost like a little light bulb or something will go off in my head, like ding, oh, here it is, you know, something intense, because that's only like it's almost like a roller coaster ride. When there's not thoughts about it, it's kind of fun and exciting, you know. But if there's thoughts about it that are being believed, then it's fearful. So what happens is eventually there's a transformation through that non-joyful state. Yeah?
Yes.
It becomes really beautiful, and there's a sense of deep gratitude for it. There might be some tears and stuff because, you know, it comes along with seeing what the cause of that is. You know, comes along with seeing that, and you know, there's some tears for the ignorance and the suffering and all of that, and it's noticed that it's just not necessary anymore, and you know it's not necessary anymore because once you see it, it's not true. Yeah. Right. And so just being in allowance of that joyful state and not needing to continue to go back through the suffering, and it's almost like, you know, like this maybe even this attachment to the thought that you know, like the suffering, the positive and the negative, are both of the of that same kind of realm, and not attaching to either. Yeah, because what you're seeing as the positive and the negatives, those deny the joy that you are, both of them. All opposites do. Like they're deceptions. They're not really there. It's not like one of them increases your joy and one of them decreases your joy. It's more like you use one of them to create a perception of joy, or to make a a perception of joyfulness coming from something, or you use something to make a perception of despair coming from another thing.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we're using, as long as we don't notice, you know, all there is to do is notice the ego playing out, and it kind of burns itself out. It gets done. It gets done with your energy body because it's not getting any food. It's not getting any light.
Mm-hmm.
So just watching what it's grasping at,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to identify with that which is grasping.
Right.
Because you're really it's only like watching a movie, even if you see something grasping. And I'll tell you, when you take that perspective, that takes all the weight and all the burden right off of it.
Mm-hmm. And so, oh, sorry to interrupt. And so that's the, like, what I'm looking at, like, either the concepts arising in awareness while I'm just sitting and watching those concepts arise, or as I'm participating in the perception of this reality and they're arising. And it's like, okay, well, they're both conceptual. And so I think that's this is the crux of the question. Like, do I, you know, am I able to still participate in the conceptual realm and watch what is arising, or do I need to let go of the perception of the conceptual material realm and turn inward?
Well, it's really one and the same if I'm understanding what you mean by participate.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because in the material realm, the participation just happens. Everyone's participating.
Mm-hmm.
If you're perceiving, you're participating.
Right. Right. This is where it gets a little bit kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, and because as well, you know, I'm like at the moment reading, you know, works of great masters to try and kind of glean more understanding, because there's not much sense. I can't quite make sense of exactly where I am. And so the words of the masters, you know, like, okay, you know, surrender and turn inward. And there was that pull inward, but then it ceased. And it's like, do I need to continue to, like, let the world go in that sense?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing now. You don't do anything. That pull inward, that pull inward is coming from outside of time and space. Mm-hmm. And then when it stops, that part of it is coming from outside of time and space. But they're equal teaching tools.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
cool.
They're equal. Everything's equanimous. It's not like one teaching tool is better than the other. It's just that the mind is programmed to push away bad feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Not want bad feelings. But see, there's really no bad feelings. That's just an interpretation that we made. The feelings are all meant to show us what we want to see, actually. What we're willing and able and ready to see. That's what's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. I love you. Aloha.
Okay, sweetie. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so there's lots of tricks to get us to identify as a doer, and you know, a lot of that has to do with, what do I do to get out of this? What do I do from here? And you know, it's still all just seeing. Any kind of deep joy we experience, you know, any kind of great experience of spirituality and stuff like that. These things pass. They come and go. We can't identify with them. Like, oh, look where I am, because of this I feel so joyful. Or, oh, shit, look where I am, I must have screwed it up, I feel like shit. They're the same. They're both the same teaching tools, and the teaching tools are basically teaching how to recognize this, that they are the same, that they are equanimous, that anything that happens on the surface is equanimous. And in that recognition, you're free. Free, completely free, not dependent on what arises within the energy field, not dependent on a particular perception. Okay, so then you're open to being teachable. That's another thing, is humility, being teachable. So anytime there's that sensation that something's wrong or a little bit upset, immediately the mind wants to project, the ego-driven mind wants to project what it knows onto the situation instead of letting the situation teach us to see clearly. It's through that experience. And the way that can be demonstrated, or an example that can be given, is with kids, let's say. It seems like we need to define their lives and tell them what they need to do, and that we need to project our concepts onto them to make them into the person that we think they should be. So in doing that, basically we're teaching our own mind that that's what we need to. We need to be shaped and molded, because we're otherwise we're not going to be good. And just noticing that all that is a projection, and letting that be felt just like it is. Just letting that be like it is. Okay? And when we notice that's just a projection, all the anxiety about having a kid and raising a kid and all the things that are usually burning out women my age, they just are seen as play, as amusement, not as anything we have to do. Because we're already destined for success. In that I mean that all of our dreams are destined to manifest. All of those inward motivations and desires, they're already destined in that way. All we're doing is experiencing through the sensation of the experience, okay, through the sensation that the perception is bringing, both within the energy field and with the physical senses, and allowing it to be as it is. That's it. Everything else works out. You can see that for yourself if you're willing to see. You're open to see. It takes someone who is kind of like done with faking it now. Kind of done with pretending like they're vulnerable to worldly things. Okay. All right. The Course says, do not interpret out of solitude, for what you see means nothing. Can you explain what this means, please? Okay, so Sativa is referring to A Course in Miracles, and so a lot of what the A Course in Miracles teaches is that what you see doesn't mean anything, because you don't know, you don't understand it, you don't understand what it's for. You think it's a separate thing in the world that you could either use. It might be a benefit to you, or it might be a threat to you, so you might need to stay away from it. And really, it's completely meaningless in and of itself. Okay, so anything that we perceive in the world as a separate thing is meaningless. When it becomes meaningful is when we're willing to receive the message that it brings, and the message always comes as a sensation. The sensation will say, the sensation will be like a fire alarm going off eventually, if you're open to sensing it, to feeling what it's like to be triggered, to feel a trigger. That feeling a trigger is automatically a sign that we've interpreted something in the world to be solid and separate. Okay? So that's what that trigger is saying, and that's so it's what Jesus is trying to get across, or what Jesus means to get across. I don't think he tries to do anything. What Jesus means to share with everyone is that you don't have to take it as if you're vulnerable for things in the world. You're vulnerable to things in the world. Like anything in the world can have any kind of power over you, or that you can have any kind of power over it, or that you can have power over another person, or that another person can have power over you. All of that is meaningless. And the reason it's meaningless is because it's based on deception. It's based on thoughts and beliefs that we are separate and that we are unworthy of the real world, which doesn't include suffering, disease, or death, or all other things that are warm-ups for death. Okay? So yay. If you need, if you'd like to have, oh, she's not on. Okay, sometimes that happens with her. She's not on. She's got the answer and she'll listen later.
Oh, Sativa.
Sativa, yeah. So we have a hand here. Aloha, Yulia.
Aloha, Hope. I'm using the opportunity again. And I'm
Good.
like, I'm already judging myself for the question because I should know the answer. You know, the question is coming from that imaginary self, of course, and it wants justification for things.
Okay, so you're noticing that. So you're noticing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got hooked again.
Okay. So you're watching this getting hooked and getting unhooked too. You're not the one getting hooked.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned the children and how we want to control how they are in their lives, and immediately I got hooked on it because that's like the sore issue for me. But it's like it's the thought is saying, but my children aren't children anymore. They're young adults, and it's not about controlling their lives. It's about having control of my life. And yeah, anyway, so I had that's the hook that was happening. I had a conflict again. Yeah. It's like I want to give myself the right and the justification and the way to do something about what's a source of suffering about that now.
Yeah, it seems to be a source of suffering, but it's not. It's only painting a picture. It's an interpretation of the situation.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of allowing that compassion for yourself and what you're feeling in that situation. And, you know, giving it up. I've heard Christians say, and I've actually visualized this myself, lay it by the river. You know, lay it down by the river, whatever the burden is. Mm-hmm. You know, this burden of thinking that you're an individual that has to do something to protect yourself. I'm just making this up. I may be way off. To protect yourself from some mooching kids.
You're right on.
What did you say?
You're right on.
So if you think you're that one who has to fix it or figure something out, you're going to keep on seeing the problem, even if on the surface you seem to have succeeded in fixing this particular problem. It's sowing the seeds of more problems. Okay.
Sense of victimization and the idea of being a doer again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So yay! Woohoo! So noticing it is all of it. Noticing it is all of it. Noticing it is all of it. Here's the thing. You can't do it wrong. I keep repeating that because there's so many thoughts that deny that.
Right.
You cannot get it wrong. Even in the seeing, even in the noticing, you cannot get it wrong. You're gonna notice what you're gonna notice when it's your time to notice it.
Right. I'm like, give me instructions, give me the correct path, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, that's right.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people are in business. You can go pay people to give you instructions because that's what gives them a sense of peace. You know, that's a sense of peace to get instructions like that. Because the ego identifies with thinking of it in terms of a map and instructions, you know, and am I doing it right or wrong? Am I on the path?
Yeah.
And basically, and you know, basically, it's a matter of seeing that every one of those thoughts that is even asking that question is total deception. That question isn't even relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing it right? Am I on my path? Did I choose this correctly? I hope I choose correctly. I hope I don't fall off my path. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what about the apparency of choice is what Lisa's asking. Yeah, what about it, Lisa? Let's let Lisa on. I'll keep you on, Julia, in case you want to talk. I think 2 people will be cool. It won't be too much feedback.
Sure.
Okay, you put me back on. Well, no, it was interesting because once I typed that and you said, you know, you were actually talking about the ego, noticing the choice, you know, noticing and questioning the apparency of choice. And
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting piece of the puzzle, and is probably directly linked to the question that I was asking you before, is like feeling like this apparency of choice
Mhm.
is coming
Mhm.
up, and then
Yeah.
you know, seeing that they're the doer, you know, seeing through that aspect of the doer, but still like life events are unfolding that seems to unfold in the direction of a choice that I made,
Yeah.
you know, and then and exactly what you said, and then the, you know, that ego mind will rebirth in questioning that, going, well, the apparency of the choice has unfolded, and did I make the right choice? Or,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, and then I hear you say, well, there is no wrong choice, and there is, you know, you're always on your path and everything like that.
Yeah.
So how to discern that apparency of choice and free will?
Okay. Okay. So you know, I'm not sure what meaning people give to free will, but the way I see it is that will to recognize in the moment that I'm the cause of everything I perceive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's the freedom we have. What's
Mm-hmm.
happening on the surface is a manifestation of mind. It seems like we are individually making choices between things in the world. But the choice that we have in this instance, which is not, it's pre-programmed to automatically believe it, but we have the power to see through that program and recognize in the moment when it doesn't seem so, when it really doesn't seem so because it's painful or it's scary or what have you, that we're willing to recognize that we are the cause of everything being perceived right now. That's a choice we can make. That's what, to me, that's free will, because that just being willing to be, you know, have the courage and the will to make that choice in the moment, you know, because you know, at first what I was doing was seeing myself not choosing what I really really wanted, instead choosing to worship illusions. So for me, I just noticed that what is choosing illusions is totally innocent. It's and it's playing out. And the way I saw it is this one who's believing in illusions is playing itself out. But you know, that doesn't change that I'm the awareness within which this learning is taking place. So then there's not a problem with the going back and forth, the apparent deep joy, and then the, you know, the confusion or whatever. You know, I was sharing with the group Wisdom Dialogues in person yesterday. You know, yesterday morning I noticed, I was like, wow, I feel manic. You know, and my friends asked me, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, the mind was just, I could just see jumping from one place to one place. And then, you know, I saw the image of myself being very interested in it. And wherever the mind was jumping, to me, that's manic. It's just jumping around. And it makes me, and it makes me feel like things are busy. Like things are really busy, you know. And as it comes up, it's like, whoa, and there's noticing, oh, I feel manic. You know, there's noticing I feel manic. And it's like embracing that experience of feeling manic. And then it went away. I guess it went away. I don't know. I didn't notice it. It wasn't in my perception. I forgot about it until later on that day when I was sharing it. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what happened this morning, you know. These things aren't a problem. When they come up, it doesn't mean something's wrong. It doesn't mean we're less spiritual. It doesn't mean we didn't do our meditation. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, that's what Jesus was saying about the world is meaningless. It's only showing a a demonstration of what you've already taken is true, like past. You've already taken as true. In this moment, you have the opportunity to choose again. And when you notice that that opportunity is arising with every breath, an instant to instant, there's no hurry. There's willingness to see this thing playing out for a little bit. And then you see the opportunity, you feel the courage and the power because you've seen what's going on. You've seen how you're being played by the ego. And there's this sense of courage and responsibility at some point. And in that moment where you're being pulled, you can just receive the miracle right there, and you can feel it transforming your energy field. It's a real, and I know you know what I'm talking about. That visceral kind of sensation, almost like your energy body just has been reorganized.
Yeah. And when you say, you know, you have the choice to choose again, do you mean like the choice to choose to come prior to the conceptual playing out of what is happening? That's what you're saying. Come prior to that. And so in the coming prior to that, then it's like everything stops. You know, there's like stopping, like an actual physical stopping as well, because it's like the participation isn't happening.
Yes. And then at the same time, like what I notice in my own experience, my body still functions, everything still moves, everything still seems to move and do a business and do some kids and a husband and a house and all that kind of stuff. It's just that there's a lot more space around it all. There's you know, there's not buying into a sense of frustration, let's say, or overwhelm or anything like that. There's not buying into these kinds of things. If they come up, they're welcome. When they come up, they're welcome. They're welcome to come up. When they come up, they're welcome, and they're experienced and they're acknowledged, and you know they're not a problem. They're quite amusing because actually they're showing this childlike innocent fear, you know, that's really just based on believing ignorant beliefs. So it's really sweet actually. It's almost like a parent. It's almost like a parent showing their child. Look, it was just a shadow. It's almost like a parent turning on lights and showing the child, look, it was just a shadow, that thing that you thought it was a monster, you know. It feels like that.
Can I ask something too about, you mentioned about not doing what you wanted, or not, I'm not sure if it was the word doing.
Not choosing what I really want.
Choosing, what you really wanted. Who really wants things? Like, if there's the self, right? And I mean, where those things come from, and what kind of things are those which you really want?
Okay, I'll let you know what I mean by that. So basically, love has one desire, and that's to share itself, and that's what we are.
Got it.
So if I'm choosing something else, it's not love, then I'm not choosing what I want.
Both of them.
You talk about making a sacrifice.
Who's talking about sacrifice?
Well, that's really that's a big sacrifice right there. In the moment you're giving, every moment from moment to moment, we're given the choice to choose basically truth or illusion, or another way to say it is life or death. Yeah. and to me that just seems like a huge sacrifice of everything for nothing to choose illusion over truth.
Oh, I see.
See?
Yeah, I got it now.
So hooray! So I don't know if anyone has any more questions, or Bob, do you have anything else?
Yeah. Get a little stick here. So yeah, you were just talking about the scared child.
Yes, the scared child.
That was seeing shadows, and the adult pointed out that what you were so afraid of was just a shadow.
Yeah.
So I was listening to, before I got here, I mentioned at the library,
Yeah.
this prior wisdom dialogue.
Yeah.
And you talk about if there's a situation where you're upset
Yeah.
or scared or frightened or whatever, that this is the ignorant, scared child.
Yes.
So there, there's this idea that when you're a child and you have a certain trauma or abuse or whatever, that you will ignorantly create a assumption about life, that I will always, if you're shamed or you're ignored and treated with indifference or something, that you will create that assumption. You'll think it's real. You'll think that that shadow is real, and you'll go forward in your life. And then you're basically believing this negative script that you have created in your ignorant, innocent, childlike mind.
Okay.
And so then you go through life radiating this script, that you're broadcasting, I will always be shamed, I will be ignored, I will be controlled, or whatever. And so it's like you have this sign on your back that says, kick me.
Okay.
And everyone's kicking you and mistreating you, and you don't know why or what you did or whatever, but for some reason, people are treating you this way. And so then it reinforces this ignorant, negative script. And so I'm seeing in the news so much about like pedophilia, like Brad Pitt is saying pedophiles run Hollywood. Justin Bieber is coming out. Pedophiles run the music industry.
Okay.
The big politicians and royalty, the royal family, Prince Charles, all these people, they're into abusing children.
Okay.
So this idea that what's done to children, they'll do to society, that we have these ignorant assumptions, we've been damaged and abused, and then that doesn't get healed or cleared, and so then we go on to damage and abuse children in the same way that we were damaged and abused.
Okay, so there's a little bit of misinterpretation happening there that would make it seem like there's a problem. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no one can be damaged or abused by another person, okay? Because people don't come into our experience without our asking them to, from a different place, outside of time and space. Let's say that, outside of time and space.
So nothing.
We have an agreement.
Uninvited.
Yeah, we have an agreement for these people to manifest the way they are. We have an agreement. If we find ourselves in a situation where we seem to be abusing another person, we have an agreement with them. That's not to say that you should go out and start abusing other people. I think we know that everyone who's on Wisdom Dialogues recognizes how awesome it is to share the love that we are, and there's not like a drive to go around and abuse people. Yeah. But the thing is to recognize that to still recognize it from that point. It's not saying it's okay. It's not saying they should get off the hook and not go to jail or anything like that. It's not like they should or shouldn't, okay? It's for us. This forgiveness is for our own minds. It's not for anyone else. And forgiveness is basically seeing through illusions or giving up illusions. That's another way to put it. And the big illusion here is that there can be something going wrong, because each one of us is an expression of the one divine being. There's nothing happening to us that's coming uninvited. There's nothing at all. And here's the thing that this perception of pedophilia will do. Well, this is how, let's say it like this. This is how the ego will use the perception of pedophilia. Okay? It'll use it as if there's something wrong. It doesn't matter what it is. Remember, this world is meaningless. Your perception of a pedophile or the victim of a pedophile is actually meaningless. What's meaningful is your reaction to that perception. Your reaction to that perception is your opportunity to actually heal the cause of it, instead of keep on projecting it. And that's the trick, because it seems like in order for us to be good and upstanding and even spiritually correct people, we're supposed to condemn these kinds of actions, you know, and any condemnation for a person or for an action, it doesn't matter. Any kind of condemnation is immediately felt. It's immediately felt in our own heart. Okay? We can't bear that without suffering, and that's why I say that this is asking for punishment. It's actually asking for punishment. And don't be afraid of that, because what's asking for punishment? When it's recognized that that's what it's doing, it's not doing it anymore. It doesn't need your participation. Okay, Lisa's back. Okay, I'm turning your mic back on. Mute, Lisa.
I'm on.
Oh, you're on. Yay, it's green.
Oh, okay, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for taking all my questions. Okay, so this runs on really awesomely with what you were saying before as well, talking about what do you choose? Illusion over truth, right? So that participating in the conceptual realm, choosing to step into the illusion over truth, staying prior to the concept.
Yeah.
So, but what does, you know, we were just talking about choice, the perception of choice. So, like, then there comes the apparency that, you know, one can make a choice to maybe stay in an unhealthy situation or choose something that is more joyous. Now, what, you know, like, how do you, like, will that just play out how karma and destiny is meant to unfold? Or
that's exactly right. It'll play out. It'll play out. And even you saying something, is it playing out? You don't choose what you say. It's only in your recognizing that you don't choose what you say. You don't choose what your direction is going to be. You just only watch what's going on. You'll know if it's time to leave a person because you'll be leaving them. That's how you know. Yeah.
Okay. Because and then, you know, it's interesting because, you know, we're talking about the polarities of joy and, you know, the opposite to joy, and the subtleties of how that feels in the body, and also in the concepts of flow and ease and creation and all those kind of things. So again, that's just playing out, like there's just now that experience that is happening, and it's not as though there is a doer following that and creating more of that. It's just simply that's what is unfolding now. And the doer has nothing to do with it, and the awareness is watching that, and there's nothing right or wrong about it. It just simply is. And so just enjoy it.
Exactly. Like it, you know, like it's a ride. Basically, you know, you could look at it like that. Life is like a ride. You know, there are these highs, lows. It's mellow sometimes, you know, and sometimes it's super intense. But ultimately, it's a ride, and that's how I experience it, because everything that I can perceive, I can also sense in my energy field. We all can sense it in our energy field. It's just that we're not aware of it. So, you know, I'm able to notice more of it than I was able to notice, you know, maybe a couple years ago, and it gets to be more and more. It's almost like this this noticing of the sensation in the body that becomes my evidence that the world is coming for me. You know, that becomes my evidence of that. So no evidence in the world can sway me. You know, like for instance, I know food cannot affect the body. That's not a possibility. And then I might find myself feeling some abdominal discomfort that seems like, well, yeah, I did eat that last night, you know, and stuff like that. And then, but the thing is, there's just no compromise for me. I know that even though what's demonstrated on the surface seems to prove that illusions are real, you know, there's no compromise in my mind that this is entirely a projection of mind. There's no way my body's being affected by something that seems to be outside of the body. It can't be affected by anything but the mind. And you know, it's fun because it's like life just throws things out there as hooks, or like, you know, hey, you know, look over here, let's make this real over here. Or, you know, you can even think of it as the thought pattern itself saying, hey, feed me, feed me, feed me. I want to take on more reality.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So then your energy is free so that, you know, a more creative kind of thought. So like say you're interested in a project, or I'll give it, for instance, you know, like I was interested in playing the harp, you know, and so then the mind is free to just open up to opportunities to learn how to play a harp, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, creative things, creative concepts just come together and they can flow easily and naturally. Building a business, you know, all that kind of stuff. It just happens, and it's like you're watching it play out, but it doesn't matter what outcome it is. Because any outcome is going to be completely received with gratitude and you know, humility and willingness to learn, you know, willingness to be taught through the experience.
And then
that's how they're meaningful. That's how the perception becomes meaningful. It's meaningless when we take it as what we think it is.
And then that great surrender of ultimately knowing that you're not the doer and you're not choosing which way it's happening. So that's that allowance, right? And that's where the freedom comes from, because it's like, I have no control over any of this.
You see, you get to see that you have no control over it, you know, especially when, you know, like Yulia was talking about being kind of like made into a robot energy pattern, and, you know, being made to lash out like that. You know, it's like they kind of just like take over the body, but it's only because of reality that we've been giving to them. So there's no problem with that too. There's no problem in the lashing out. The lashing out is just as much of a teacher as anything else.
Oh, I'm not in control.
Yay! It's good news. It's good news. Yeah. You're not in control, but you have dominion over the whole world. You love it?
Yeah, the ability to see, right?
It's really fun because, you know, you're not afraid of any surprises that life is going to bring up. You know, you don't live in fear of any surprises that life is going to come up with, because it's not like anything's too hard for you to handle, and there's not anything, you know, that life throws at you that is independent of you asking for that energetically. The energetic asking comes in the form of whether there's believing in whatever's making us feel crappy, or noticing that that feeling can only be projected from our own mind. It's like the same thing, truth or illusion. That's all it always goes back to. It's so simple. You know, the mind, the ego takes it as being too simple, dangerous even. That's why people would get killed for saying stuff like this.
But that's the thing, it's all illusion, though. It is all illusion unless you're in that pure point of awareness.
Yes. Yes, it all is. There's just a sense of relaxation and amusement in watching it all flow and unfold it however it needs to.
Because like even saying truth, like speaking the word truth forward, is already making it untruth. Like, because it's, right? So
that's why, you know, a lot of the times I point out and even start my wisdom dialogues with, nothing I say is actually true. Right. It's like food for thought. Your inner teacher is always your teacher. It's always your teacher is always showing you from within to truth, and it's the truth that cannot be defined with words. You just know it. We all know it. And underneath the pretenses, we all know it. Some of us are just more committed to our pretenses right now.
Commiserating.
We're commiserating. That's fun, huh? What do we want to do? Commiserate or co-create? Yeah. And it's an emotional journey. It's a whole emotional thing. I remember hearing that from Abraham Hicks maybe like 15 years ago, not really getting it at all, because not seeing that it could be possibly that simple. But it's like now I notice how that is like so apparent in my experience, because I notice that whenever there's any kind of tension in my body, and it's just allowed to be how it is without taking it to be wrong or anything like that, not only do I experience a reorganization of my energy in my body, but I notice things on the surface just working out in magical and miraculous and just and glorious ways, like things that I didn't even recognize. You know, I've talked before about, you know, the universe knows what you want before you know what you want. You know, as far as what you're looking for, your motivations on the surface, those kinds of surface things, before you're even aware of it, it's already coming. It's coming. There's no going out to get anything. That's only an illusion. It's coming. It's actually coming up. It's being formed. So all we have to do is just allow that, and it's all the same thing I've been talking about. It's all that one choice, is just allowing that. And everything is made easy, easeful, and graceful. And I can give you an example of that, something that happened just last week. I have been researching some software for our company because we are looking at a lot of growth and getting some software to kind of tie everything together and make it nice and smooth for everyone as we hire and stuff like that. So, you know, I have no experience with this. Really no experience. I have a vision of, wow, I'd like it to feel really, how easeful it is. I have no idea what I'm doing. So, you know, there's just going back to, as I'm looking and find myself looking, you know, remembering that there's no doer. Even this looking is just happening. So in remembering that there's no doing, there's an easefulness in the looking, in this action of looking for researching and doing different stuff like that. There's just an easefulness in it. You know, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to seem on the surface that I chose the right software system or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's for fun. So I'm just having fun with whoever I talk to. And then I had an ad out for a job that came available here. Someone shows up with 30 years of IT, information technology experience, and just says, I know how to do these kinds of systems, in-depth systems, and I'm here applying for this job, but this is what I really like to do. Not even, he had no idea that's what I was looking for. He was just telling me, hey, I'm willing to do your job, but, you know, just to give you an idea where I'm at, this is my specialty and this is what I like to do. And I'm just like, oh, forget about that other job. You know, and see, the point I'm making is that I didn't even realize I could that as a possibility. Do you see? The possibility came totally by surprise, that a person might just, and charge me $20 an hour too, to boot. You know, which is like, my jaw drops because those guys are like normally $90 an hour. But, you know, it's just like, and the whole relating with him, you know, this learning happened, you know, about computing and about all this other stuff, and it just made everything come together so seamless, so easy and seamlessly, and it's still coming together like that. But I didn't say I want to manifest this. I didn't say that. I didn't feel that I wanted to manifest anything. I could sense that the motivation, where the energy is moving, I could see the trajectory. I could see that myself is on that trajectory, working along with it, apparently, and that everything's okay. And then things just happen, things just come up. And you know, everything's a surprise. We think we can say, okay, this is how it's going to go, but just allowing everything to be a surprise, just being surprised by it. We're destined to succeed. That's one thing important to remember. And it's like the whole universe is behind us, giving us everything we ask for. It's just that what we often don't recognize is that we're asking through emotion. Okay. So if we resist it, if we resist the emotion, we're asking for more fearful manifestations because we're feeling fear in the moment. If the fearful sensation arises, then it's just allowed to be okay. It's just allowed to be there, just as it is, whether acting out on it or not. That's how it gets healed.
Ah.
Yay! Thank you so much for allowing me to share with you. I appreciate it so much. I can't even describe. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us what we forget about all the time.
Well, you know, the reminders are reminding my mind our minds are not separate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not even like I'm doing something for someone else. But you're welcome. All the gratitude you give is for you, which is the same as me because there's only one of us here. Yeah. And all the gratitude received is also for you, which is also me because there's only one of us here. Isn't that lovely?
Yes.
So thank you. I appreciate you. All right. So signing off now. If you know. Miracle Botanicals, essential oils that are just the bomb. We're so into getting the best stuff. We know our business. We love essential oils. We use them. We put massive amounts on our arms and bodies, and way more than what's recommended. So we make sure we get the best. Yeah, we're not supposed to recommend this to you, but this is how we do it, like this.
Yeah, you should smell your house when you walk in. You're inundated with aroma that's from heaven.
Yeah, aromas from heaven. So yeah, whether you feel like supporting it, we don't need any of the support, as you probably know. But you know, if you feel like that and that feels awesome to you, that's one reason. Another reason is if you just like the best essential oils in the world. I recommend miraclebotanicals.com, and that's not just because I might make a profit. But just a heads up, I might. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Tuesdays at 3, okay? Hawaii time. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
And hooray ho!